Yo guys, what up? Me, Patrick Levar. So I'm going to do a quick little reaction video or just some notes on how I put this video together. Again, I shot this video using the Motion Cam app, which allows me to shoot raw DNG files. They made some updates. It's a really cool app. You know, raw DNG, people are like, what are DNG files? It's basically a digital negative. Like, you know, when you shoot film or actual real photography, you'll get the printed picture, and then they'll also give you that little film strip. In the old days, they'll give you that little film strip. That's what a DNG is. It's kind of like a negative of the actual image. It's untainted. It has no processing on it, and it's a big file because I can control a lot as far as in post my highlights and my shadows. So again, I was only able to do that because of this hard drive. The files are very big, so I basically fill my phone up and load all the footage onto this. Fill my phone up, load it on, and repeat back and forth until the day that I went all day, and I never had an issue with storage. I had a more issue with power than I did storage. But this is a 250 gig Samsung SS solid state drive, and this thing is solid. So I basically put all my data on there. Got home, dropped it all into my computer, and then Motion Cam actually has a special app on the computer that allows me to convert those files into DNG files. So they're smaller, and then when I bring them onto the computer, they're full size, and it's really cool. So I don't have to really fill up my phone so much to the point where before I can only shoot like 6 clips and my phone would be ready to blow up. So now with the new container and it's really small, I was able to shoot a lot of files. I don't know exactly how many, but I shot more than 6 basically. I shot maybe a dozen up to 12 or 20. It just depended. I was doing 5-second, 10-second clips, right? So let me go here and quickly show you what's going on. Now, the one thing that was tough about this whole day filming was there's a lot of shots that are like in alleyways. So I really had to pay attention to my subject, like what was going to be, this is a good example here, what was going to be exposed. I had to need, like for the example, this building, the Starbucks building here, was my main focal point. So I knew that I wanted it to be exposed properly, right? And if you look at the sky back here, look how crappy that looks. That was because, again, I knew this wasn't going to be a sky shot. This was all about Starbucks, and I exposed for that properly. And then in post, I try to bring some of it back, but look at that. You can just see, like, once it's clipped out, DaVinci Resolve did a really good job of even bringing this back. But before, this was just pure white. All of this was pure white. And in post, I kind of crunched it a little bit too much because my main focus was to try to keep this here. So if I back up here to the shot prior to that, the whole sequence was backwards. This shot, the first shot here was when we first got there, and I was like, oh, okay, great. And I knew when we were coming back that I was going to be able to get all of these shots one more time. So this was the first initial shot. It was really bright in the day, and the sky was completely blown out. But I wanted you to be able to see this detail here, and I wanted you to be able to see there's people inside here. If I would have exposed the opposite, this would have been completely black almost in here. You wouldn't have been able to see any detail in here. You wouldn't have been able to see any of this. This would have been super black. And you probably would see a little bit of this here, and then you will see the blue in the sky. And the shot after that, which was later on that day when we were leaving, now you can see the sky is actually blue because the sky is not as bright. The sun wasn't as bright. And I actually had to open up here because this was already too dark. It was getting really dark in the day. So I had to pump some ISO back into it. And you can see it's a little bit noisier. So that's kind of again, just really focusing on my subject. Same here. It was tough to expose properly because I wanted this sign to be exposed, but the sun was shining in strong right there. So I had to basically crank down on the ND filter as much as possible. I couldn't even save some of these highlights. But then if I went too far, the bottom was going to be too black. So again, just compensating. I was using the Hohem iSteady gimbal, which is a super small gimbal here. Let me kind of stop right there. Let me show you guys. Super tiny little gimbal here. Back that up. There you go. And the only reason I use this one is because it's so small. Literally, it fits in my little daily bag. And minus this here, I mean, look at, there's my palm. Like, that's how small it is. That's why I've been using this one recently. And it holds just my phone. Like, even with the ND filter on, I can get it to balance, and it's at the limit with the ND filter. So I've been using this one just because it's super small, super cute, right? And yeah, that's what I've been using for is my daily gimbal. Here a lot of people ask me, what is this? This is actually Japanese sweet bean, right here, and then has some tea, which was super really good. And underneath the inside, there's like a big chunk of mochi, basically. And then here's the same. That was the same. It's like a more of a soup, right? It's a sweet bean soup with mochi that's been grilled, just grilled mochi, right? So it gives a little bit of texture. This not my favorite. Now these little pieces here are actually Japanese seaweed, dried Japanese seaweed with salt on them. These are my favorite. They're super yummy, and it's kind of like a complement of the sweet bean paste with the salty piece of seaweed. So it's quite a unique taste. It's actually pretty good, and it took me a while to get used to it after being here. And then again, getting some gimbal stuff here, Japanese sake. These are little things here my daughter loves. They're just like little pastry, little breads, little sweet donut. They almost taste like little donuts, right? And she loves these things, so we got some of those. Typically in Japanese restaurants, they always have like these display of the food, and then they like spray the special kind of coating over it like this. Inside of here, these were, I can't remember what these were. They were like fried goodness though. They were yummy. And basically you'll see a lot of the Japanese restaurants, this is how they display their food. They'll actually cook it and then spray this silicone on it, and it seals it, and it's like just basically static there, like a rubber piece of food basically. Again here, the gimbal, working the gimbal. Tough, it was a really sunny day, windy, and going in and out of these buildings. Now this one here I want to talk about because this was an interesting shot. This was a Brandon Lee inspired shot here. I originally walked into the building first. I walked inside to see what they were looking at, and I set my exposure for inside because I knew my final position was going to be inside. But then when I had walked outside, I walked out, everything outside was like completely white. I was like, oh no. So I had to find a happy medium between it being balanced outside and then it also being enough exposure inside. Like, so it was weird. Like I had to kind of cheat it halfway. So like outside wasn't going to be fully exposed, but inside was going to be fully exposed. So it worked out well. And then post, I was able to make some adjustments inside of DaVinci Resolve to get it to work. Again, I had to pump up the ISO a little bit higher than I wanted to, but you couldn't really tell too much. This was a really fun shot. Giving you 2.0 POV. Again, in these little alleyways, trying to keep my ISO as low as possible, but yet not having highlights blown out like here. Again, it was this was a lot darker than it was that you're seeing here. And then like here, look at that, just blown out. Because I have to fight. I had to figure out what's going to be balanced and what's not going to be balanced. I had the ISO kind of cranked up here too. It's not the smoothest gimbal. I mean, it gets the job done. Now these shots actually here, these two shots are actually in slow motion. They're actually in slow motion. They're 48 frames. They're 96 frames. And what it is I actually found an app or a free software, AI software that will double the frame rate of any footage with using AI. I'll quickly show you that. All right, this is the app. The app is called Flow Frames Video Interpreter. It's a free software, and basically it uses AI and it doubles the frame rate of any footage. So what I ended up doing here, let me go to, where was it, right here. So you have to have a GPU in order for this to work on your computer, right? And if you don't have a GPU, unfortunately, it's not going to work. And what I do is I load in my basic video, and then here I said select it like, okay, 2 times. So at 24, it was like 48, and then I went to I ended up going 4 times on it just to push it to really see what it was going to do. And then it exports out using AI, and I don't know how it's wizardry what it does. And it basically kicks out a file. So here it is down here. Here's my file. I did it twice. The first time I did it at 48, I just did double, and it didn't change anything, because when I brought it inside DaVinci Resolve, it still said 24 FPS. DaVinci Resolve is like, hey, it's just normal. So then the next time I did it to 4 times, and at frame rate of 96 FPS, and it worked out okay. So this is the clip at 96, basically 96 FPS. When I bring this in DaVinci Resolve, it is like boom, it's slow motion. It's freaking awesome. So let me see if I can go ahead and bring that in DaVinci Resolve for you guys. All right, so here's the clip. I brought it inside DaVinci Resolve. Now, if you look here, boom, look at that. Full slow motion. Close that. Awesome. Is that awesome or what? Now, I'm doing a screen capture, so it's kind of getting weird. But I do notice, like this one, it did it pretty clear. But you will get some weirdness, right? You will get some weirdness. If you look at it closely here, look at this gentleman's hair here. Watch his hair. Look at his hair. See that? Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. See that? See that little glitching weirdness, right? You're getting some weirdness. So it does. It's not perfect, but it works really well. Like I was going to use this clip in there, but I ended up not because the pacing wasn't right. Like I didn't feel that it was appropriate, but I did use it on the bird. And even better yet, on the bird, it got really glitchy, right? But I still use a little piece of it. Watch this here on the bird. Let me look at the bird. Like it totally tweaks out there. Look, whoop, 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 whoop. And then here, again, the bird when he flies away. Total. Look at that. The AI didn't know what was going on there. It was trying to represent him flying away, but I wanted to get him in slow motion. But this is still awesome. Like even that part right there was usable, right? And again, it was shot at 24 FPS. And then I converted it AI to 96. Like, come on, guys. That's freaking awesome, right? So that's that. Take a look at that app. I'll have the link down in the description. And jumping back into this here. So yeah, again, that was really cool. And that's a good option now. So I'm happy to have that in my bag. And so that's the slow motion, the AI slow motion. And again, just doing some gimbal stuff here. Again, a little bit of gimbal practice. That was the whole objective of this video. And then I did a lot of it was actually a lot of handheld and gimbal work. I did the first pass I walked, I did a lot of handheld stuff, and especially in the forest, it was all handheld. And this again here, like normally I wouldn't get this close, but I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone, like, and get in there with the shots now, like trying to keep my movements and like get close to her, like boom. And then it's a short clip because, again, using the app, it kind of freaked out. Like, the longer you hold the video in the app, the longer it starts to process, and it starts really hammering on the processor. And, like, a lot of these clips at the end, they go super fast, and they were unusable. So this was, like, the only usable section out of this whole clip that I was able to get. And, yeah, just doing it, making the motions. A lot of these shots like this, I'm just trying to stay, like, it's a forward shot. So again, I cut to another forward shot. This is handheld here. This is not even gimbal. That's handheld. And then here, all in the forest, this is all handheld stuff. I didn't even use my gimbal at that time. So just kind of trying to be really smooth with my body. And that was a good moment there. The exposure worked out proper there. It was tough in the forest because the shadows were so dark and the sun was so bright. Like, I had a tough time really exposing, which was a great learning lesson too for me here. Again, trying to keep stuff in the foreground to add depth to the shot. The bell, that pedal, the leaves, you know, the rocks. Even this leaf in here, I did a manual rack focus, another manual rack focus. I'm trying to keep much stuff as possible in the foreground. Massive trees that were over 100+ years old. It was just like humbling to see these massive trees, like just huge. A little bit of wobble there on the handheld using the stabilizer from DaVinci. And a lot of this stuff, I couldn't save the highlights because I need a stronger ND filter. I need, like, my ND filter, like I said earlier, was 400. It's 2 to 400. I need to go 400 and above. So that's going to be my next mission, to get another ND filter. And then I added on the grain, on the film, I mean, not the film grain, but on the grade, I added a little bit of was it Kodak V250 daylight, a little bit to give it that little nostalgic feeling. And then boom, that was my favorite, that little ending. Actually, that ending was the first thought I had. This ending was what I visualized before I even started the video. Like, I knew how I wanted to end it, literally. I watched a little bit of Brandon Lee's stuff before this to get motivated. And I knew I wanted to do this. Like, this whole sequence here starting right here. I knew that I wanted to do that before right when I started the video. I was like, okay, I want to do this sequence. And I literally kind of like worked backwards on this video. I knew how I wanted it to end. Now I needed to start it. And that was kind of the first time I ever did something like that. I quickly want to show you the file here. So you can see, and I put a lot of work in sound design on this one too. And a lot of it went unnoticed, unfortunately, unless you have headphones on. You will really notice a lot of the sound design. There's a lot of stuff going on. If you get a chance to rewatch it again, definitely check it out with some headphones on. And you'll hear all this time. But this is basically my whole timeline. All the colors at the bottom are added sound effects that I added to it. These two green lines are the actual video sound. Here's the soundtrack in the middle. And then here's all my clips. And then on top is my grading layer. Basically, I graded the whole thing. And then my text there. So it was a lot of clips. I don't remember how many exactly. Too many. I almost used everything that I shot. I lost a lot of clips because of processor and then like, yeah, so those are all my clips there, all raw DNG files. And though that was just all gimbal. This is just all gimbal clips. And then my first pass, here's all just my shot clips, just literally shot clips. So it was quite a lot of stuff going on there. So just want to do this little breakdown for you guys. Trying to get back in it. Like I've been fighting as a creator, going through the shorts and making shorts, and I'm like literally like losing hundreds of subscribers because I've been posting shorts heavily on YouTube, and you know, it's just whatever. Like I'm struggling as a creator right now, but I was glad I did this because it just literally brought me back to like, yes, filming, getting good shots, and just doing the motion. So, you know, other than the algorithm, just trying to fight with that. But anyways, Patrick Levar, catch you guys in the next video. I do have some guides and stuff, all that, the jibber jabber, the merch. You guys know the deal. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.